Good evening, everyone. This is a call to order for the Bridgeport Board of Education regular meeting on May 8th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. and we are at Aquaculture School. At this moment, we'll ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, everyone. At this moment, Mr. Secretary, can you do roll call?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Civil Allen. Christine Baptiste Perez. Habla Benahán Grajales, here. Ms. Bobby Brown.
Here.
Ms. Akisha Casimir.
Here.
Mr. David Gellen.
Present.
Mr. Michael Macaron.
Here.
Mr. Joseph Sagalet.
Present.
Mr. Robert Traber.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
You're welcome.
At this moment, we will have student representative reports. If students are online or in present, please state your name, the school that you attend, and then feel free to start your report. I guess that is, I'm not sure if this is a student, Kajermaine Hanson? Kajer Wayne Hanson?
Yep, I'm a student.
Okay, go ahead. You could do your report. Would you like to give your report?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Board of Education members, and thank you for this time to share an update. My name is Cashwin Hansen, and I'm here to represent aquaculture as a Central Magnet High School student. On Friday the 4th, aqua students will be representing the Bridgeport Aqua FFA at Yukon and Stores. Students will be competing in other schools for their FFA chapters in Connecticut. These competitions build confidence and the ability to speak in front of an audience, like I am doing right now. Skills we all need in our social society today. Good luck to my fellow Aqua peers on Friday. All week this week, we are celebrating Teachers Appreciation Week at Aqua. Teachers have breakfast coming tomorrow, lunch on Wednesdays, and other treats throughout the week. Thank you to the awesome teachers at Aqua for all you do for us. We appreciate it. And lastly, we are excited to host the annual year-end Aqua Cup on Tuesday, June 6th. With a rain date of Wednesday, June 7th, plans are in the works and may include a ceremony for our new research vessel, the RVK Williams. Thank you for the opportunity to report and for the ongoing support of our Aqua program.
Thank you so much.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I got one question. Could you please repeat the date of the vote, please?
June 6th and June 7th.
June 6th and 7th. Thank you.
Yep,
Thank
no
you.
problem. You're welcome.
I'm not sure if this is a student, but Blakely Rosemarie. I see you're unmuted. Okay. Blakely, would you like to give a report? Please unmute yourself. Okay, if anything, we'll come back to student representatives as they come into tonight's meeting. The next item is public comment. And what I'll do is I'll read your name. Please step up to public comment. Feel free to share your thoughts. You will have 2 minutes. Once the timer, when your 2 minutes is about to be up, the timer will go off. We just ask that you summarize your last statement. All right? There's also translation here for those that need translation. The first person we have is John Weldon.
Yeah. So I'm here today to say thank you for the very thoughtful acknowledgement of my service that was recently delivered to my home. When I was appointed in 2016, I had no idea what would come. As I reflect on the last 6 years, 5 as chairman, from that initial appointment and winning 2 elections, I have memories of so many who sat where you are today and who sat in room 305 of City Hall that argued for the things they believed in, as well as so many parents and voters that I encountered along the way who wanted to see improvement in the school system. I've met countless dedicated teachers, administrators, and others who always did their best to move the district forward. Inspired by those people, I actually recently obtained an 085 School Business Administrator certification from the State Board of Education and am now certified to run the business affairs of a school system. I never would have thought that. As I reflect on my time on the board, it has been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. Thank you again for this very thoughtful gesture. Be well.
Thank you, Mr. Weldon. Our next person is Gabriel Soberio. If I mispronounce your name, please correct me once you come to the podium.
Good evening, members of the Bridgeport Board of Education. My name is Gabriel Soberio. I'm a college student, and I'm here to speak to you on behalf of my mother, Magali Scalera, about the potential closing of the Adult Learning Center at 418 Kossuth Street. Last week, my mother was informed that the institution where she has attended ESL morning classes for over a year is closing after this semester. We fear that my mother and many other students who take advantage of the high-quality free English as a second language classes that the center offers will not have a program to go to. I learned that the Adult Learner Center has been in existence in this location for over 20 years, and there are 4 different day programs at this school. The center provides services to over 200 adult students over the course of the academic year. Many of these students are low-income, minority, and immigrant students who live on the East Side and East End neighborhoods. Why did the district decide to close this location? According to the Connecticut State Department of Education, Bridgeport adult education is mostly funded by a state grant. In 2022, $3,988,683, almost $4 million was received. Therefore, the issue here is not funding. As Bridgeport taxpayers impacted by this BLE decision, we are here to ask questions and demand answers. If the district closes the Adult Learning Center, where are the programs going? Are they going to continue to be accessible to all students, including immigrant students? Many of these folks are parents of school-aged children who rely on these programs to gain access to better jobs and help their children succeed academically. Our community, particularly the Bridgeport immigrant community, is not going to allow the closing of the Adult Learning Center to go unchallenged. We are here committed to fighting to the institution and demand answers for the district. We hope that the situation will get resolved and that the Adult Learning Center remains open. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for sharing. Before I move on, let the record reflect, Mr. Jellum and Ms. Kashmir is in person. Moving on, our next speaker is Mounty Hoare. Mounty. Mounty. Okay. Mounty.
I don't speak English.
Okay. Would you like to say something though? No. Okay. No.
Puede decir en su idioma si necesita.
He doesn't. It's okay.
We have the translator, Ms. Marta is here.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for being here. The next one is Cesar Ortiz.
Hello. Good afternoon. My name is Cesar Ortiz. I would like to tell you thank you for the time. I am thinking that this program is the so great decision about the process. All of us we can improve in some processes like create a company sounds.
Sorry, hold on one second. They're all muted. Okay, you want to try again?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Of course. Thank you. I was talking about the this process. It's so good because we can create, all of us create better processes, better things for our community, things like better companies, like better position, better situation for our population, all of us, because something is so hard for some people, and can keep better processes or take some calls for because they don't have some the opportunities to learn. Now we can all population can take the opportunity to go, for example, to community college after here and learn and improve to keep this community, all of community improving about the better things that they have in their minds, in our minds, to improve our community. So thanks so much for all of you, to all of you, for the time. I really appreciate it, and my partners too. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. Let the record reflect Ms. Baptiste Perez is with us. The next person is Ms. Chantel Santos. Chantella Santos?
Chantal Santana.
Okay, would you like to say some words? All right, go right to the podium.
Buenas noches, Presidenta Arboa y los miembros que están aquí de la educación. Mi nombre es Chantal Santana, vengo en representación de lo que es Adult Education. Por las razones que quiero presentarle, la firma de varios estudiantes que estamos en el centro para que no nos lo cierren bruscamente. Todos esperamos que este problema se pueda solucionar y podamos continuar con nuestros estudios en el centro. Yo lo tengo en español.
No está bien, puede usar eso.
Okay. El centro de aprendizaje tiene 4 programas, que son el inglés como segundo idioma, tienen el GD, tienen Diploma Education y también tienen lo que es en la clase de ciudadanía. No queremos que este programa se nos cierre. El programa no va a cerrar el building. El building es que quieren quitarnos. Entonces, nosotros como estudiantes y la comunidad no queremos que eso pase. Por razones de que todos que estamos ahí, yo personalmente estudio los sábados. No puedo hacerlo en otra escuela otro día. Más también mis compañeros que estudian los días de semana, si están ahí porque realmente lo necesitan. Entonces, no queremos que ustedes nos ayuden y nos den la oportunidad de seguir en el building. Eso es lo que más nosotros queremos como estudiantes. Entonces, los estudiantes, yo cuando supe de que nos querían quitar el building y esparcirnos en varias escuelas, lo que dije fue, bueno, vamos a unirnos como estudiantes, que necesitamos esto y vamos a traer firmas y llevarla a las entidades que son competentes con eso. Aquí te entrego.
Thank you. And she's going to translate for everyone.
The student is basically saying, I am assuming that the adult building that's about to close, they would like to get a petition going to prevent that. They have a lot of parents and other people in the neighborhood that assist that class. And they're trying to do everything to stay in that building. So they would like for the board to please take some consideration in that. And she also mentioned about getting a petition signed to try to keep the place open for them.
Thank you. The next speaker is Mogales Brown.
Buenas noches, soy Magalis, vengo en apoyo a la escuela Bureau Education, estudio los sábados la clase de inglés y estamos enterados de que quieren cerrarnos la institución y para nosotros tendríamos muchos inconvenientes por las razones que todos tenemos, hay padres que tienen sus hijos por el día, yo particularmente voy los sábados y necesitamos la facilidad que ustedes nos ayuden para que no nos cierren la institución, ya que tenemos al frente la parada de bus, tenemos el IKEA, tenemos un parqueo bien amplio y necesitamos que ustedes nos ayuden para darnos esa facilidad de continuar con nuestras clases, ya que sería de mucho interés para nosotros. Gracias.
Thank you.
Again, another student that is asking for help for the building to stay open for the adult education. She says that the parents that do attend this, they have children that go to neighborhood schools, and that everything is around this neighborhood of the building where they attend adult ed. And she's asking for support and help to maintain that building open for them.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Albert Benahan. Please go to the podium.
You don't need to translate for me. Good evening, everyone. As the chairperson said, I'm Mr. Albert Benahan, and I'm here to support about not closing the Bridgewater Dual Education. I know for the beginning, and I know the total grant for this dual education department, I believe there were two. It was $3,988,683. But as a board member, I was one of the last person to know about this situation. I don't know where's the communication, what happened, what's going on, why they don't tell us the way it's supposed to be our community, our people, because I know if they had to close it, to renovate, to fix it, to the parking lot or whatever, we are okay with that. But not let them know the community, let them know then what's going on. I'm not agree with that. I always say, and at the bottom of my email, always say, with better communications is very successful. So I don't understand where was the communication. Why they don't tell the community the way it's supposed to be? I'm very clear. I speak for everyone very clear. So why can't I speak to them and let them know what's going on? So I hope if we have a solution for this situation, at least they can transfer where to go until they have the building. That building is one of the big points then in the east side. As a parent stand here and say, oh, we have a lot of things there, especially the babysitter for the kid. You know, parents have kids and they're not trying to different places. In different places that really have adult education, so it's gonna be a crowd like, you know, if this building is for 100 people, let's say this room, so you're gonna put 20, 25 more, that's against the law. So we have to, you know, to check what's going on. As I say, if we don't have communication, we're not going nowhere. And Mr. Benahan, I like to communicate with everyone and be nice with everyone. So let's work a little more about the situation about how to help adult education. I'm going to say it very fast and it's translating in Spanish. No estoy de acuerdo en el asunto de cejar lo que es el building del Departamento de Educación. Pero yo sé que hubo un budget que entregaron para los departamentos de educación 3.988.683, que realmente es para darle educación y ayudar a todos estos padres que necesitan. Yo entiendo que cierren el building por renovarlo, por limpiarlo, para lo que sea, o el parking lot, pero no dejarles saber a ellos lo que está sucediendo, no estoy de acuerdo. Deberían de comunicarse mejor, porque yo sé que la comunicación se puede ver. ¿Dónde estaba la comunicación? ¿Dónde está el trust, la confianza, que ellos estén bien? Ya que el building al frente tenemos que cuidar niños. So, yo necesito, como miembro del Departamento de Educación, como padre, porque soy padre primero ante un líder, que tengamos mejor comunicación y ayudemos en este Departamento de Educación para ellos, para que se puedan mejorar. No que hagan las cosas sin saberle. Ellos tienen su voz y tienen su voto. Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Ms. Gladys Walker Jones.
Oh, goodness. Just some direct takeaways from the Finance Committee meeting on Wednesday, April 19th, and the special meeting with the search firm on Thursday, May 1st. Deductive reasoning. If Bridgeport Public Schools is saddled with growing operating deficits amidst increasing enrollment and the city of Bridgeport, out of the $12.4 million ask, is set to propose a base increase of $2 million and $1 million toward a scholarship fund. And their budget director, Nestor Niquo, in response to WFP elected city council official Tyler Mack's question captured in the Connecticut Post on April 6th, responded, "The only hope is to continue to grow Bridgeport's tax base." Then, BOE presentations made to the city council, business leaders, families, current and potential stakeholders needs to focus on the intersection of a good, no great schools, producing at or above proficient scholars at all grade levels in all of our schools as a major catalyst to build said tax base. And if good to great schools are essential to increasing the tax base, the city's only hope, according to the budget director, then it behooves the Board of Education to shore up their skill set, make and take the time to fully vet and hire a new superintendent who, in addition to all of the necessary education and leadership soft and hard skills, has demonstrated astute and savvy political skills at both Rob Traver, I agree, the city and state level, to secure the bag by bringing in more than the requisite resources, the ask from the city. A novice just won't do. Take the time to help rebuild the city of Bridgeport. And to do that, we must shore up each and every school under the direction of decisive, collaborative, transparent, tough-skinned leadership who is culturally relevant. City and good to great schools are totally intertwined. One cannot successfully persist without the other. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The next person is Doria Hernandez. Doria?
Dorca.
Okay.
Dorca Hernandez.
Or Hernandez?
Yes, Dorca Hernandez. D-O-R-C-A Hernandez.
Go ahead.
Okay. Ok. Yo vengo a apoyar a la escuela Bureau Education porque en ella tengo dos hijos estudiando, un nieto y una hija. Y no quiero que le cierren la escuela porque mi hija tiene niños y el niño va enfrente a la escuela cuando ella está los sábados allá. y los días de semana mi niño también va a la escuela. Así que quiero que no se cierre la escuela porque también dijeron que lo iban a esparcir en diferentes escuelas. Pero en la escuela no van a poder tener los adultos junto con los niños cuando lo cierren porque viene la zona escolar que es del año escolar y otros van a ser para las vacaciones de los niños. O sea que los adultos no pueden estar con los niños.
Thank you.
She's another student that is asking for support to keep the school open. She says she has a son and a daughter that attend in that same building, and just asking to please keep the adult ed school open.
Thank you. And our last speaker is Nelly Jara. And if I mispronounce, please correct me.
That's fine. I am Nelly Jara, yeah. Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity. Again, I'm Nelly. I'm the Executive Director of Connecticut Worker Center. I'm here with 3 worker leaders, Rosa Rodriguez, Flor Montenegro, and Ghislaine Miguel. Connecticut Worker Center is a nonprofit organization who assists immigrant families, and we have members from our center that are worried about this program, the ESL classes that are for adults. We hear from them, we receive some calls, and also the worker leaders are having phone calls that they are concerned about that the program is closing, and we would like to know where they're gonna move, because we have to inform them. And every day we're receiving more families asking for English classes, and we want them to learn the English because they need to support their families, they need to support their kids at school. And I think we all know that we have to learn. I'm myself learning English every day, more words, but I'm serving the community. I'm in Bridgeport 25 years, and I have the opportunity to work with immigrant families. And the most important thing, there are 4 programs, and I was researching that I know that is like $3,090,868.3 assigned for this Bridgeport adult education. And we want to know that, all of you, please consider that this program should be open. If you are gonna relocate in other place, please share the information. But the most important thing is those families who are already there are worried about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes public comment. At this moment, we'll move on to approval of meeting minutes. The first item is meeting minutes for approval is regular meeting April 24th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Benahan.
Second.
Second by Ms. Cashmere. Any discussion? Any corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries. The next part is the chairman's report. I am happy to report that last week on Thursday, the Board of Education held a special meeting, and that within that special meeting, we went over the superintendent search. We right now have about 19 candidates, and there's going to be further development as more information comes onto where we are as far as the steps concerned for this particular search. All right, as more information comes, we will continue to update the public. The next item is committee reports and referrals. The first one is Education, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, chaired by Mr. Sokolovic.
Yes, this committee has not met in the interim since the last meeting. We will be meeting again on May 20th, but we do have one agenda item under new business coming up.
Thank you. Are there any referrals for this committee?
I have a referral.
Yes, ma'am.
Could a research be put into equity opportunities amongst our schools for students with field trips? One thing I've noticed with teaching and learning is that we're seeing the same group of schools go out of state and on field trips, and that opportunity is not being spread across the board for the rest of our 37 buildings. And so I would like to see maybe like a look at what opportunities the equity our students have for like out of state field trips, overnight field trips, and look at how we're doing maybe over the last 2 years, just not thinking about the COVID year, but like how our schools are doing with providing our students access to equitable learning opportunities outside building.
Got it.
Thank you. Are there any other referrals for this committee? All right. Next, moving on is finance, also chaired by Mr. Sokolovic.
Yes, the Finance Committee did not meet in the interim again as well, but the next meeting will be Wednesday, May 10th at Central Library at 6:30 p.m. It'll also be available on Teams.
Thank you. Are there any referrals? Sorry. Oh, yes, let's finish referrals and then we'll go back to the student. Any referrals to finance? Thank you, Sam.
Yes, I want to refer a matter to the Finance Committee. We've been talking about the budget for the last months and months and months. We're looking at the state and the local contribution to our budget as being inadequate. And when we look at it, we have been looking at the devastation that would occur if we don't achieve the financing we need to succeed. So I want to refer to committee the idea of beginning to develop a standard by which we think we need to have what we need to do the job correctly for our students, not just to survive with what we've been surviving with. And so it's an idea that I've seen done in some other districts where they basically put together a plan, the master plan, for if we had all the money we needed, what would we be doing for our kids? And so instead of saying, let's not cut this and let's not cut that, we want to say, if we were doing it right for our children in Bridgeport, we would have X number of social workers. We would have X number of math tutors or reading tutors. So the idea would be it's going to take a longer time. It'll be a process, but to begin to investigate what kind of resources we need to do the job the way it's done down the coast in the wealthier suburbs.
Thank you. Are there any other referrals for finance? All right. Hearing none. Next one is governance, also chaired by Mrs. Sokolovic.
Yes, governance also did not meet in the interim, but we do have an agenda item on coming up as well. And the next meeting will be, where am I covering this? May 17th at 6 p.m. Central Library, and also remotely via Teams and YouTube.
Thank you. Are there any referrals for governance? Ms. Perrin.
Referral for request for comment for a whole school management agreement between Bridgeport Achievement First and Achievement First Bridgeport Academy. Yes, it's a request for comment. So I guess this is a yearly request that comes to the Board of Education in regards to an agreement between the Bridgeport Board of Education and our charter school partners for whole school management between Achievement First and Achievement First Bridgeport Academy. So I wanted to bring that to governance to give an opportunity for the board to be able to make comment.
Yeah, just send that to me. I'll discuss the details after.
I have a referral as well to governance. Recently, we visited the Hardin High School building. I forgot what they're called, Ms. Perrin. Not archaeologists. There's an organization that has opportunities to clean up any of the items that are in the school to display them at a local library. So this particular individual or company wanted to know, were we going to do anything with anything that was saved from Hardin? I know it was a conversation, so I told her I would refer to governance to see what policy we may have in place for something like that, or if there is one.
Right. The main issue is really no policy in place right now. That's why we're developing a policy as part of a new policy to prevent a Harding from ever happening again. If there's no real clear steps, there may be some in the obsolete policy that we could look at to see if there's anything left. But as far as getting back into the building and salvaging anything, as you saw through our walking, there's really nothing that's not contaminated other than a few memorabilia we saved. But it's worthy of a discussion.
No problem. I will invite them to, to attend your meeting. Are there any other referrals for governance? Mr. Traber, did you have your hand up? No? Okay. All right, moving on. Next one is Health Safety Committee and Facilities. Ms. Baptiste Perez.
Health, Safety, and Facilities have not met in the interim. Tomorrow, we'll have a meeting at 6 p.m. here at Aquaculture. I want to just take a second to go through the agenda items. We're going to have a presentation on our HVAC grant awards. We're going to have discussion and possible action regarding the ESSER plan with the ESSER funds, as well as the ESSER master plans for discussion for a roadmap of how we're going to use the remainder of our ESSER funds for the district. We're going to have a building reports for Hall and Edison School. We're going to have a discussion regarding a clear and consistent district-wide policy for the usage of facilities for all sporting events. We're going to have a presentation on health-related grants in the district. The district is applying for to see how they can be used for students' social, emotional, and physical health, looking past ESSER. And we're also going to have a presentation on the school resource officer's scope of work. So again, that meeting is going to be here tomorrow at Aquaculture at 6 p.m. Anyone that's interested in attending, please feel free to attend in person, although we don't have public comment. And it'll also be available online. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any referrals for this committee? All right, hearing none. The next one is Personnel and Contracts. Personnel and Contracts did not meet. We will be meeting on May 30th at 6:30 p.m. at Central High School. Again, that's May 30th at 6:30 p.m. at Central High School. And just like everyone else, feel free to join the meeting. We are currently in the process of reviewing the different departments within the district. So if anyone's interested in knowing how the departments move or the decisions or who does what, this is an excellent opportunity to learn about how the district is, its leadership moves throughout the district. So it's been really great. So this is also Mrs. Cashmere's agenda item. So it's been really great hearing how each leadership moves. Any referrals for this committee? Mr. Sikovic.
Yes, in finance, we developed a RFP for a lobbyist. I would like to have a second set of eyes on that through the contracts committee. Personnel and contracts. Right? Yeah.
Got it. Please send me any language
Sure.
for the item. The next committee is Students and Families, chaired by Mr. Benahan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our next student and family is going to be May 25th, 2023 at 6 p.m. It's going to be in Waterville School. I'm going to try to do it in different school because I know parents ask me sometimes because so far being going Central High School, so I'm trying to do in different schools so the parent they can come, enjoy it with us. I believe it's going to be the last one and, school calendar, and I want everybody to work on it. Last one we have. It was amazing. We talk about so many things, especially I'm going to keep talking because we need to open that conversation. Because I know we open about so many things, policy and rules and laws and everything, but it's something very important that coming to my attention. The parents talk about LGBT, and especially after we spoke with Ms. Lynn and Ms. Rocha, we were talking about it. I want that information out to the parents, to the students, that they can know Bridgeport School, they're here to support them. We're not here to discriminate nobody. So if another school and private school and charter school, they can do it, why Bridgeport School, they cannot do it? I know few they have, but I don't feel the information is out the way it's supposed to be. So I want that information out and let's support our students. It's very important. So as I said, next meeting is going to be May 25th at 6 p.m. in Waterville School. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any referrals to this committee? I would just like to add, I know that it has been in conversation about the parent handbook. I would just, like to see where we are with that, because the school year is almost over. I know it won't be finished, but like maybe just planning process for the parent handbook. Thank you. And then the last one is teaching and learning, also chaired by Ms. Baptiste Perez.
The last Teaching and Learning Committee meeting met on Wednesday, April 26th at 6:30 p.m. at Waltersville School. We had a discussion with the latest assessment data, and just to share a general overview, what we found was that with the ARP ESSER funds that were implemented in our schools, the additional coaches, teachers, support for our students, with each cohort over the last 3 years, we've seen incremental growth, which has been beautiful. Are our students there yet? No, but we're working towards it. And hence a lot of the comments with necessary funding for our schools needs to go forward. We saw growth in our ELA, reading and writing, mathematics, and this was the first year where we really got data for science. We received a special education update report with areas for growth in the district where we will work towards creating a more inclusive special ed environment. And then we did have a brief presentation about what is taught to our youth transitioning from high school into adulthood. I forgot the name of the program, but actually preparation, resume writing, interviewing skills, programs that collaborate and are open to all our Bridgeport students. And that includes the Caribe program at Central High School, but also for all our high school students. And I think Dr. Jenkins mentioned that it starts 6th grade, resume writing and career planning for our students. And so that's relatively new, but it's being implemented district-wide, as well as we had a conversation on educating our students on local civics and their local civic duties. And that was what was done at Teaching and Learning.
Thank you. Are there any referrals for teaching and learning? All right, that concludes committee reports. As mentioned, all of these committees are posted on our district website. We encourage the community, if there's an issue or if there's a topic that's being covered or something that you feel passionate about, please attend the meetings. They're open to the public. There is no public comment. However, you can sit in and view it also online to give your thoughts and concerns. These are where some of the major issues happen before they come to the regular board meeting. So we encourage you to all go there. At this moment, we're going to turn it over to Ms. Perrin for the superintendent's report.
Good evening. The BASIC BMA update. We'll be sending out invitations for a planning meeting for various BASIC BMA stakeholders as we move forward in the planning process. Dr. Baldwin will be sending out those letters and information. The first tentative date is May 22nd, so that will be coming out within the next 24 to 48 hours. Also, this week is Teacher Appreciation Week, so please make sure that we're celebrating our teachers. Adult education site at St. Michael's. We are in conversations about relocating the adult education site for effective July of this year. We are still in conversations to see if we can engage in a short-term lease with those stakeholders to be able to do so. And Mr. Denton is here to share more information about that process. In our nursing department, scoliosis screening has begun in grades 5, 7, and 8. Our assessments for Smarter Balance for grades 3 to 8 will be taking place this week, as well as Reading Plus for grades 9 to 12. The Student Climate Survey for grades 9 to 12 is scheduled for the week of May 15th through the 19th. There are several grants that we are looking to participate in, and I wanted to share that information with you all. So we have the Newtown Savings Bank, which has funded 5 scholarships for Bridgeport students attending Bridgeport Military Academy, Harding High School, Fairchild Wheeler, Aero, Fairchild Wheeler Bio, and Fairchild Wheeler IT. We also began the Experience Connecticut, which are experiences that take place the first Saturday. Field trip was a great success with our 4th grade students who attended the Wizard of Oz at the Downtown Cabaret. The next field trip is scheduled for May 27th at the Gillette Castle in East Hampden. Mary L. Fitch Trust. These are 9 proposals that we sent through in February for a total of $28,000. The next round of Fitch funding is due May 26th. These are offerings that are made available to various principals throughout the district to engage in site-based improvements for their buildings. Currently, there are several in-progress proposals. One is the Right to Read. Connecticut Legislature passed the Right to Read legislation in sections 394-404 of the Budget Implementer Bill, Public Act number 21-2. The legislation systemizes a statewide reading response based on the science of reading by requiring the state to oversee all state and local efforts related to literacy, including setting reading curriculum requirements for districts, providing professional development, hiring external literacy coaches, and coordinating with teacher preparation programs. A newly established Center for Literacy Research and Reading Success will be the hub of that work. Also, Lifting Literacy, which is the Nellie Mae Education Foundation, has released their Lifting Literacy program. The foundation is seeking proposals that focus on evidence-based literacy programs in K-8. School mental health specialists. The school mental health specialists grant through the Connecticut State Department of Education would fund the salary of an additional school psychologist to support the mental health needs of Bridgeport students. School security grant program and multimedia security grant program. The district applied for another round of these grants to support ongoing security upgrades for Bridgeport high schools. These upgrades include metal detectors, x-ray machines, and radios. School Violence Prevention Program. The district is working on its 2nd round of the School Violence Prevention Program through the Department of Justice. The school security team, led by Captain Paul Gregg, has identified schools and projects in need of updates and renovations. The grant is for a maximum of $500,000 across the period of 3 years. District bright spots. Bridgeport Public Schools decreased chronic absenteeism by 3% from last month. This report is based on attendance through March 2023. Chronic absenteeism decreased by 3% from last month for students identified as students with disabilities. Chronic absenteeism decreased by 10% from last month for students identified as students experiencing homelessness. And chronic absenteeism decreased by 2% from last month for students identified as multilingual students. Upcoming events, parent training, focusing on the IEE, which is Independent Educational Evaluations and Special Education. That will be coming up very shortly. We have our annual EL Summit, which is taking place Thursday, May 17th, from 3:20 to 6 p.m. at Harding High School cafeteria. We have, the parent training is taking place at Discovery Magnet at 6 p.m. on May the 17th. We have our technology showcase taking place on May 22nd at Fairchild Wheeler. We have our recognition ceremony, the last one for the year, taking place on May 31st, 2023 at Harding High School at 6 p.m. Our math meet for grade 7 and 8 students will be held on June 1st from 9 to 1 p.m. at Sacred Heart University's West Campus Auditorium. And we have our PAC PTSO Roundtable coming up on June 7th at 6 p.m. at Columbus School. There's also several different spring art events that were taking place at various schools throughout the district. We have an additional job fair coming up on June 3rd from 11 to 3 p.m. at Central High School, as well as our high school graduation day taking place June 12th at the Hartford Amphitheater. Great kudos goes out to Aerospace Hydrospace Engineering Magnet High School, which has been recognized by Project Lead the Way as a distinguished school, which is their highest award given. And this is the 2nd year in a row that they have received this.
Thank you, Ms. Perrin. Mr. Denton, if you would like to share, and I'm not sure if translation is still needed concerning the item.
Good evening. My name is James Denton. I'm the Director of Adult Education. First, I'd like to recognize all the wonderful students and staff. It's really an amazing program. We've had students come in non-English speakers at all, go all the way through the ESL ranks into our credit program, receive a high school diploma, and then go out of college. I mean, it's a good program. It really is wonderful. We've been at the Adult Learning Center for 13 years. The lease goes back just for the day program. As you know, when you see at night, we have a large program that runs at Central High School in the evening. The lease is obviously up at the Adult Learning Center, and we have been in discussions with the church about a renewal. And there were several topics that we kind of never came to an agreement on. Obviously, it goes till July, so it's not a done deal. Obviously, I mean, without going to the Board of Ed. But if you allow me, I could kind of clue you in as to where we are and why we're here. Is the old lease said that we make all the repairs to the building. And it's a very old building, and routinely we have to, make repairs to it. Just this March, the furnace broke. The students will tell you there was a few days it was cold. There was no heat. We had to spend thousands of dollars, repair it. Our guys did all the work. The city attorney's office recommended that they don't use that model anymore with the repairs. So they wanted to, redo that piece along with, the church wanted some increases in rents. But we were left with who was going to take on the liability of these repairs. And it landed on, it was $10,000 each repair the Board of Ed would pay. So as we were looking at the, overall building and the facility, it became apparent that, it's a huge building. It's a large building. It has a gym. We don't use the gym space. But we do heat it. It's a large utility bill. It's a large electric bill. It needs a total lighting upgrade, which would be out of our pocket, and then theoretically we would recoup the cost. There's a parking lot issue that they were going to pave, but then they said they were not going to pave it, if things were renegotiated. And one of the biggest things is it's not ADA compliant. There's no way for someone that's doesn't have good mobility to get into the building. It's the first floor is high. It's tough. There's no way. There's no ramp. It's not an easy fix. So as this deadline, I'll say, to move out was looming, that is also followed with $1,000 a day if we're not out in time. I started talking, with the superintendent and Ms. Siegel about maybe alternative sites. And the alternative sites we were looking at were the thought was we were going to get a modern, upgraded, a better facility for the wonderful staff and students. We saw this, obviously change is hard. I don't think there would ever be a good time to move that program out after 13 years, but we're stuck here in May, which is the last thing in the world I wanted was to be in a Board of Ed meeting in May talking about this lease. I didn't expect it to end here. But it's May. We don't have an agreement on the lease. We are still, as Ms. Perrin mentioned, we are still talking with them, and we're hopeful that we're going to be able to get an extension to kind of make a transition out of there a little smoother. But I am working on plans to find new, updated, modern locations with air conditioning and buildings that we don't have to make all the repairs on.
Thank you, Mr. Denton. Would you like to translate as much as possible?
I can, yes, thank you. Bueno, el señor Denton primero está muy impresionado con los estudiantes. Quieren que sepa que esto es algo que el contrato ya está, el sitio está, que se necesita muchas cosas para poder seguir y están tratando de conseguir un espacio para que sigan. El contrato ahora está hasta julio, pero el edificio necesita muchas reparaciones. So, él con la superintendente están buscando. Hay 2 o 3 sitios que están mirando, pero que él quiere que sepan que están tratando lo mejor posible para que encuentren un sitio sano para ustedes y también para sus hijos. Hasta esta fecha, did you say that you have 2 or 3 places that you're...
We're looking at several.
Okay, so hasta esta fecha están buscando, tienen 2 o 3 sitios que quizás, pero no hay nada concreto. Lo importante es que el edificio está muy costoso para las reparaciones y es cuestión de tiempo, pero hasta esta fecha están hasta el mes de julio y después de ahí informar de lo que va a pasar después de eso. Digan.
Si es posible, no se puede primero hacer el sitio, buscar el sitio real para los estudiantes antes de mudarse, o tiene que ser esparcir los estudiantes.
She wants to know if is there anything concrete now, any place that you're specifically looking at for them to move before the building is closed?
We have a few locations that we're looking at, but I wouldn't say.
Nothing concrete.
And what we can do is, just for the interest of time, is that I don't know how long Mr. Denton will be here, but if anyone has any further questions for him, you can definitely ask him. So we'll make sure that opportunity presents itself. Is that all right?
Yes.
Okay.
Hasta esta fecha no hay nada concreto, pero también si tienen otras preguntas para él, después del meeting, preguntársela, porque estamos cortos de tiempo. ¿Ok? Y yo voy a estar aquí.
I'll be here till the end.
Él va a
Thank you,
estar
Mr.
aquí
Denton.
hasta el final. Y yo también.
Thank you. Thank you. At this moment, I'm going to open it up for board members. If you have any questions for Ms. Perrin's report, and then also Mr. Denton as well concerning this item. I saw Mr. Traber first, and then Ms. Baptiste Perez. Go ahead, Mr. Denton. I'm sorry, Mr. Traber. I'm sorry, we can't take any public comment at this moment. Public comment was earlier. If you have any questions concerning this particular item, Mr. Denton will be here after the meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Denton, I just wanted to make sure I understood your report. This is strictly a daytime program?
Yes,
And how many students are involved?
100.
Thank you. Ms. Baptiste Perez?
Okay, I'm gonna fully use my Robert's rules and go through all the questions. I'm gonna hit different items from the superintendent's report, and I'll leave the adult day program last. For the basic BMA update, will we have any feedback from the Resilient State Project or Mayor Ganem or the Buildings Department?
We don't have any response from them as of yet.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that publicly, but okay. But there's been numerous attempts by your office to reach out to them so we can have an update as a school district before moving forward with this decision.
Yes, that was with the delay, because originally I wanted to do this in March, which was shortly thereafter, and we haven't received any responses at all.
And so, just to be clear for the public, correspondences has been sent out to the mayor's office, State Resilience Project, who's in charge of the environmental reports. And so I asked that a bit tongue in cheek because it's always the architects. I feel bad because they just do the design, but a lot of the back and forth from the city hand and from the state, no one's showing up.
So Answer that?
Yep.
So I sent an email first to the supposed point person for Connecticut Deep. That was prior to the forum that we held in February with no response. And I spoke about that at the forum. Ms. Brown and I then met with city officials to talk about next steps. And they said they were going to be reaching out on behalf to try to get someone in regards to provide a presentation in regards to resiliency. We never received a response, and then I followed up in writing as well.
Okay. The next one, I just have a generic question for the grants section. Are these all new grants, or are the grants that were described new grants that we've, are these all new grants, or are these grants we previously applied to and received or didn't?
So the Newtown Savings Bank, Experience Connecticut, and the Mary L. Finch grants are grants that we are currently in the process. We already have those. And some of these, like Experience Connecticut, is a new grant that this is the first time we've ever engaged in that program. However, the Mary L. Finch Trust grants, these are grants that come through almost every year that are allowed to be sent out to different principals to be able to engage in things in their buildings. Whereas where it says that in progress proposals, those are all newer grants that we're currently awaiting to see if we're going to be getting the funding for those to support those initiatives.
Thank you. Okay. Then I have a few questions regarding the adult education program. How old is the lease?
It's been 13 years.
So we haven't renewed a lease on a rental property in 13 years?
Correct.
Who was the last person to execute it on behalf of the Board of Ed? Which superintendent and chair?
I'm not sure. We do have a copy here.
And was it for a 13-year lease, or was it for a 5-year lease and we just let it roll over with the conditions?
Yeah, it had a bunch of renewals. So we were able to go out 13 years. John Fabrizi signed it. It started and year one was 2013. Oh, so actually this would be the year 10-year lease.
Okay. Sorry, the floor is not open to public comments, just for Board of Education members to ask. Now, Mr. Treyberg did ask how many students are attending the facility. You answered that. Is there a specific density of the students in the program that live within the area, or is it district-wide?
It's district-wide. I'm not sure who lives in the immediate neighborhood or not. Several drive. There's many cars there during the day.
Is it something that we've looked into, maybe having a density report? It seems from public comment that the majority of the residents live on the east side, and there's a concern from that local feeling. But if it is a district-wide, it is a district-wide service. I'm just wondering whether we've looked into whether it's utilized just in a particular community.
I don't have any hard data on that, but I would assume it's people from the whole city and some from Fairfield also.
How many from Fairfield?
Not many. We have a deal with Fairfield where they pay us $25,000 and we service their adult ed population. I believe in total last year we had 17 Fairfield students taking 22 classes.
That's $25,000 per student, or $25,000 in total?
In total.
How much is it per student to attend the adult education program?
It's free.
How much does it cost the district, though, per student to run the program? Maybe I'm asking this wrong, Ms. Treyberg, you may be able to help me with this, but how much does it cost to educate one adult student in this program? Because it seemed like Fairfield's getting one heck of a deal.
Well, I actually don't think it's really that great of a deal because I mean, they would have to run their own program. I mean, we have, I think this year we were 1,500 total enrollments. So, we could do the math.
Well, I want to know the math of the cost per student and then multiply that by 17. Not necessarily the math you're trying to do. But we can get that information at a later date. This isn't an interrogation. I always remember to change those hats, right? When did the lease negotiations start? I think that was another big concern as a board member, is that it feels like we were left out of the dark for it, but when did the lease negotiations start for this renewal?
I sent an initial email to the church January 2022.
Okay, so negotiations have been over a year now.
Well, it's been, went dead for months at a time, and it's been dragging on.
You already somewhat walked us through what the facilities are like. So we're responsible, and you can feel free to add to the list. We're responsible for any repairs to the property. We're tenants, so we're taking on liability if someone hurts themselves without it being ADA compliant. What else? What other kind of what are the facilities like? I've never walked through the adult education day program, so.
It's an old Catholic school. It's it's an old building. We're responsible for everything.
I will agree. It does not sound like a good deal for the district when we're tenants and we're paying for our own repairs. I want to clarify some stuff, and it could have been lost in translation. The program is not closing, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And we're not removing any of the 4 programs that have been mentioned. It's just a temporary relocation potentially?
Correct. We're trying to relocate to a better facility.
And then and what are the hours for the adult day program, and when does it run?
It runs the ESL program, which is the biggest group, runs Monday to Thursdays, and they're there from like 9 to about noon. The other, we have a GED class that meets there during the day. And then we have a credit diploma program, an online program where students can, work towards their diplomas. And that runs, a morning and afternoon session.
Okay. And then my next question, I just want to clarify what I heard. If the students don't leave the building on time, we're fined $1,000 a day?
Well, the terms of the lease, if we don't renegotiate and extend it, and we're not out by July 1st, it says that we are liable $1,000 a day.
That's all the questions I have for right now, Ms. Brown.
Thank you. Mr. Benahan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Mr. Denton. I have a question for you. Do you communicate with all the parents, everyone be in that building, about email, letter, post-it, then let them know the situation? Let me translate this in Spanish for them. ¿Usted se comunicó con los padres exactamente lo que está pasando en el building que se va a cerrar sobre un email, una carta, un aviso, dejándoles saber lo que está pasando? I just heard the same thing in English and Spanish.
Yeah. No, I didn't. This is, I don't see it as, a finished process. It's kind of a fluid, ultimately when there was, something concrete, we would let everyone know, but, we're still figuring it out.
El señor lo que quiso decir que no se había comunicado en ningún momento con ustedes, no le dejó saber lo que está pasando en el building. Just say, like you said, you never, never communicate with them. I would like to see if you can possibly, with the permission of Ms. Perrin, it is possible to have a meeting in the center, speak with all these parents, let them know the process, let them know the situation, so they can understand what the process. I know the program is not going to be closed, but I'm talking about the place. so they can understand. As I say in the beginning, if you don't want to have a good communication with them, how they're going to fix, how everything's going to be done. You know, with good communication, everybody be on the same page. De dejando saber que sería bueno que hagan una reunión con todos ustedes, ¿me entienden? Con todos los que están en ese building, dejándoles saber el procedimiento, lo que va a pasar, lo que va a suceder. El programa no va a estar cerrado, es mover del building. Pero a lo menos, como yo le dije al principio, que volvamos a la comunicación, creo que todo el mundo esté en la misma página y todo el mundo sabe lo que está sucediendo. So we can have that meeting, you know, I don't know if we can.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Podemos tener una reunión, dice que sí. Are you okay with that, Ms. Perrin?
I'm sorry, sweetheart. Just no public comment. This is just for the board. Like I said, Mr. Denton will be here after for any further conversation and board members as well if they want to share. But we just want to continue the process if that's okay.
Ella lo que quiere decir que ahora no, el comentario se ha cerrado. Después de que se termine la reunión, podemos quedar toda la noche para hablar con el señor Denton. Thank you.
Ms. Perrin.
So yes, I have no issue with having a meeting, but I do want to say that, you know, we still are trying to figure out what's the best option. With Mr. Denton, Ms. Eagle and I were on the phone with individuals last week when you came into the office with individuals. It was not released because we are still in the process of trying to figure out what's the best next steps. So addressing the situation without having all the information to me is just as problematic as, you know, putting it out there that, you know, this is what's going on. We need to have a clear idea of where we're going and what we're doing.
Thank you, Ms. Perrin. And I agree with you and I really understand. But having this information out, especially before the board members and the parents know, you know, I was concerned about that. So, but I'm okay with that. You know, we can have plan and we can do the process and everything's going to be fine. My question is the other one, Ms. Perry or Mr. Denton, why Mr. George Garcia was not involved in this, knowing that he's part of the facility, he knows about the building, maybe he can deal something with the contract, you know. No, Mr. George Garcia, I always call him the master. He know how to deal, you know, the process. Why Mr. George Garcia was not involved in this? Hold on a second. Le pregunté a un señor que se llama señor García porque no estaba involucrado. Él es el director de facility de la ciudad y también del Departamento de Educación. Él sabe cómo bregar en contrato en situaciones así, cómo comunicarse y hacer el procedimiento. Go ahead, Mr. Denton.
Mr. Garcia was involved. He met with us and the church's attorney and the city attorney. And I've been, you know, we've walked the building. I've met with him a few times to discuss, you know, the plan if we do have to get out of there by July 1st. So we're not left, you know, in a bad situation. So George Garcia is aware.
All right. And you said about 13 years, the building and with the lease, and as never be on the top of that lease to check what's going on, you know, be in process, because it's like we have apartment and our lease expire after 1 or 2 years. We had to be on top because and then we're gonna get consequence. How come that little past 13 years like that? And, you know, I know you sent a letter that you sent January 2022, but if you sent that letter, you never be informed, say, what's going on, guys? Why you not answering me that letter? Or, you know, I'm gonna know the process, let them know those, whoever was the superintendent, the board member, the chair, you know, what happened. So why they think still like I feel like they don't care. Let me translate this, please, before you answer. Me está preguntando porque el señor García que no estaba involucrado. Él dice que sí, que el señor García estaba involucrado y sabe el procedimiento. También le pregunté en 13 años por qué este building está ahí 13 años. Han tenido un contrato y el contrato no lo han hecho de paso. No lo ha puesto en seguimiento, no ha preguntado por qué. Había una persona, él le mandó una carta en el 2022 a la iglesia y del 2022 no le han contestado para atrás. Yo le digo a él, ¿por qué en 2022 no ha tenido un procedimiento y todavía no he preguntado a la iglesia por qué no me han contestado? ¿Qué está pasando con el building? ¿Qué vamos a hacer? Porque esa es responsabilidad de él, o si no, dejarle saber quién era el superintendente, a la persona que era chair, al board member. Go ahead, Mr. Denton.
I believe I misspoke with the 13. It was 10 years. And it was 7 years with 3 renewals. And so the last 3 years, we were able to just renew it. And there wasn't an increase to the rent. And so it was, you know, it was a good bargain. So, and that's part of the reason why now, you know, they're ready for some increases and whatnot to move forwards.
I'm okay with Mr. Dente. I know you for so many years. You know that as a before board member. You're an amazing person. But I feel the lack of communication we here was not good. Because if we let them know the parent the situation, I know everything's coming in the beginning. You have a meeting with parent, Ms. Siegel, but at least let them know, listen, guys, this is what happened in the building. We're trying to do the process. Let's see what's going on. The program's not going to be closed. It's about locate because I know you have to be the safety issue, the situation. I understand and I accept that and I agree with that. But with that communication, this is why the parents are here. Le estoy diciendo es que yo lo conozco por muchos años y lo respeto, él trabaja bien, pero aquí lo que falla fue la comunicación. Porque si le hubieran dejado saber a ustedes lo que está sucediendo, lo que va a pasar, lo que va a hacer el building, sé que el programa no va a ser cerrado. Pero si le hubieran dejado saber lo que van a hacer él, la superintendente Miss Perrin y la señora Sigo, ya lo menos ustedes saben y así ustedes no se pongan nerviosos, ¿entienden? Por esa razón, como no se lo comunicaron con ustedes, por esa razón ustedes están aquí. Pero vamos a hacer una reunión para poner todo claro encima de la mesa.
Thank you.
Ms. Perrin, thank you, Mr. Tente, for your questions and your answers. Ms. Perrin, you say about something about Bassett High School and you know what's going on, the situation. Just to let you know for the record that you still and you are our superintendent of school here in Bridgeport. People that have to understand if anything's happening in a building and situation, have to let you know. I don't like when people I send you an email. I don't know if you feel like I'm not attacking you, but I feel that when you hear, they know you hear, and they don't communicate with you, they don't respect you, I get upset. Because they have to respect you, understand that you are the superintendent of school, and it's going to be a process. I know they have to communicate with you, but when situations happen like this, they make decision, not let you know. I'm not happy with that. So I just want to let you know for the record, I know it's going to be a process. They will communicate with you. They really received my message. I already spoke to him that you are the interim superintendent of school. They have to communicate with you. Anything happen in the Bridgeport school. No more question, no more comment, Mr. Chair.
Wait, may I have
Chair. Sorry.
point of personal privilege? Can you provide context to the audience as to what you're talking about? Because for anyone watching from home, for anyone that's not part of the email chain, they're not sure what you're referring to.
About just now?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
course.
you give the community a background as to what's going on so that way it's clear?
You say about the Bassett High School?
Yep.
Of course. Thank you, Miss Madam. You want to sing in Spanish, right?
No. You actually both. Well, you got-
All right, no problem.
yeah.
The situation is because we received some comments that they're gonna the new Bassett High School in UB. They said they want to do another ceremony, breaking groundbreaking May 22nd. And I'm like, okay, we'll find out China 12 news. So my question is, how come as a board member, as a parent, as a leader, as a board member, as Miss Parent Superintendent of School, we don't know about that? And we was in shock. And that made me upset because she is still our superintendent of school. When anything happened in Bridgeport School, she has to know so she can communicate with us. How come another people from our side, they don't know? So what I understand, the mayor making that decision to May 22nd. We don't know the time. Look at that, make the date, but not the time. So I was confused. I was not happy with that. So I emailed no, thanks to Joe Soccer. Like he told me the situation as I cannot shut up, I cannot get quiet, I had to, I didn't like that. Because I would say we'll get a better communication, we can work together. We cannot do something else. That's fine. I did it the first time. Me and Ms. Brown, we wasn't the first time. I was in the second time. I still had the hammer and the hat in my truck. And now we're gonna go the third one. I know the reason why he's doing this, but the big point is Ms. Perry is still our superintendent of school. She's supposed to know what's going on in our school. Anything happen. So that's what the reason I was talking about. I'm gonna translate this in Spanish for people you can understand. Vamos a abrir una escuela nueva, que es la nueva de Bassett High School en UB. Se regó y informaron que va a haber una otra ceremonia para mayo 22. Está la fecha, pero no tiene la hora. Entonces el alcalde decidió hacer eso en mayo 22. Yo lo supe por el señor Joe Soccer que me lo informó y salió en el canal 12 de aquí de Bridgeport. Yo me pregunto cómo el canal 12 y el alcalde toma la decisión y se riega, y nosotros que somos los board members, las superintendentes aquí de Bridgeport, ¿tú me entiendes? No sabe nada. Entonces nosotros somos el Departamento de Educación de Bridgeport. ¿Cómo sale una información y nosotros no sabemos nada? Entonces eso a mí me dio coraje. Yo estuve tranquilizando, analizando, pero yo dije, yo lo que mandé un email al superintendente y le dejé saber. que yo entiendo que sea el alcalde de Bridgeport, pero él tiene que entender que tenemos una superintendente, somos 9 board members, que debería de comunicar con nosotros que no tenemos problemas de hacer otra celebración, porque este viene siendo la tercera. Yo estuve en la primera con la señora Brown, yo estuve en el segundo, que todavía tengo el martillo y tengo el gorro en mi carro, y ahora voy a otra tercera, pero yo entiendo el motivo que lo está haciendo. El punto es la comunicación. Y no tome decisiones sin dejarle saber a la señora Miss Perrin, que es la superintendente de Bridgeport School, y después ella se comunica con nosotros. Eso es lo que a mí, yo no soy perfecto, pero me gusta comunicarme con la gente y creo que podemos tener una buena solución. I'm not perfect, but I know with good communication, we can do a lot of things. Together, we can do things better. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Benahan. And Mr. Denton, that's not about you, but I know your students feel like I have nothing to do with BASIC. We know you're just up there for one part of the report, so I just want you to know that because, Mr. Sokolovich.
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback on what Mr. Benahan said before I got the questions from Mr. Benahan. I mean, Mr. Denton. I apologize. As the longest serving board member, I've been through 3 superintendents. The lack of communication from the mayor's office is no reflection on Superintendent Perrin. I've seen 2 superintendents have issues with communicating with the mayor of the city of Bridgeport. Our last one superintendent back is Dr. Johnson. She also had trouble interfacing with the Ganem administration, and now Ms. Perrin. One superintendent that did not have problems interfacing with this administration was Superintendent Testani. Now, you can infer what you will, the differences between all 3 superintendents and the differences in the treatments, and you could put that on top of the largest Black and brown students being underfunded. And what we got is disparities in treatment, disparities in funding, and it needs to be called out. Our superintendent is our superintendent. You will discuss the respect. How do you announce on news? How do you have a news release about a second groundbreaking at BASIC? A second groundbreaking at BASIC. Now, we all know why we're groundbreaking at BASIC again, coming up into the elections. It's a political ploy. It's a disrespectful political ploy because the Board of Education was caught unaware and the superintendent was caught unaware. It's unfair and it needs to be called out. Ganem, stop it. And now I'll move on to.
That wasn't about you either, Mr. Denton.
But you're like right front and center, so eyes are on you. Now, as far as the program, what are the total costs of keeping the program operating in the building? Do you have like a breakdown?
The lease is $130,000 a year. The utilities are over $100,000. There's security and custodial services, which are another few $100,000 with benefits.
So, okay. So now that's going to bring me to another disparity. You mentioned $25,000 we're getting from Fairfield for 17 students.
Yes.
That breaks down to 1,471 students. And if you break down the percentage, I don't have all the numbers, $25,000 that they're paying not their fair share of the cost. So I think that's something that definitely needs to be looked at wherever we're going to go with this place. They need to pay a little bit more. I see Ms. Baptiste looks like she has a question that she wants to.
Can we move that to a finance?
Yes,
item?
that's already on my mind.
That way we can look into it. I know that we've heard it with our magnet schools of other districts not paying their fair share. But if we have to pay for the cost of the facilities, the cost of repairs, and all
thing.
the whole entire thing, and for 10 years we've been taking care of another district, another wealthier district with more funds because they don't want to take care of their own. There has to be a time where we need to put Bridgeport first and actually take care of Bridgeport and have people pay what they owe.
Absolutely. And if money wasn't an object, money obviously is an object. We're getting ready to basically, if we're not properly funded, decimate the education system in the next few years. And if it wasn't for money, would we be able to still operate in this school building as is if we had unlimited funds?
Yes.
So if Mayor Ganem will come out and say, I'll fund this whole lease and the liabilities and have at no cost to the district, would we be able to stay there? Maybe that's Ms. Superintendent Parent question.
Well, just for clarity's sake, this is all grant funded, so it doesn't come out of the Bridgeport Board of Ed operating budget. So of this year, for 22-23, we receive $4,177,627 for the whole adult education realm. And of that, 2.7 came from the state level, 1.5 came from the local share of the grant funds that we received. And it's broken down based upon some of the positions that Mr. Denton spoke about for our staff and security. So we will still be able to sustain.
Right, so, all right, piggybacking off that, that's for the entire adult education program for all buildings and all students.
That is correct.
So we still got the same concept in play, that if we spend money from one place as part of that grant, we can't spend it somewhere else. So the city stepping in and funding part of it would be helpful to keep maintaining services or maybe improving services in adult education. Correct? Thank you. That's all I got.
All right, and then okay, Mr. Traber. No, I was going to go down the line. You haven't spoken yet, so go ahead. You did on your, okay, so, all right, so I'm going to go through the rest and then I'll come back. Mr. Jellum, do you have any comments? Ms. Cashmere, do you have any comments?
Just a couple of quick questions. So the church is the one that owns the building, right?
Correct.
Okay. And I think that Mr. Benahan's idea of having a meeting with the students is a good idea. I just think that because time is of the essence, I think that you should just go right into it with the numbers. It costs this much to maintain this building every month. Tell them about the boiler. Tell them about Fairfield paying $25,000 a year. Like, when this meeting comes, hopefully there'll be a lot of people that shows up there. I just want you to be very, very clear, about why these decisions have to be made about the building. That's all. That's all I wanted to say.
If I could reply, the repairs are an unknown. I mean, we don't know what to expect. And, that's the problem. And
well, you can tell them what you spent though, right?
Oh, we could definitely, we could
that's
definitely.
what I'm talking about, like what you have spent and what it takes to maintain
Yes.
the building.
Yeah. And the Fairfield students, they're in throughout all our programs. They're not just at the day program.
Right, but I still feel like the numbers at the end of the day are going to make an impact when you have that meeting. That's all. It's just a suggestion. You don't have to.
Oh, no, we can do it.
I'm done. Thank you.
All right, and Mr. Macarone is no longer here, so I'll go back around one last time. Ms. Baptiste Perez, then Mr. Traber.
This goes in light of Hardin High School. Is there an evacuation plan, and what would be the timing if we did leave the building July 1? How long would it take to exit the building, all our supplies, all our stuff? Is there a plan? And yeah, that's the first question.
Yes, there is a plan. Like I mentioned earlier, I walked the building a few times with George Garcia, and we met and discussed, the process, and we can be out of there July 1st. And on the other end, I have a contingency plan that, that we basically break out into some satellite locations across the city. But the real hope is to find a modern, updated facility that we could go right into. So hopefully we can get an extension and get another space lined up, and we can go from one right into the other.
Let me clarify. July 1, we have to be, if things doesn't work out in terms of negotiations, right? Just July 1. How long would it take? When would it occur? Like the removal of the supplies from the classroom? If the day is from 9 to 12, Monday through Thursday, you're talking about Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, facility costs just clear out the building when school's not in session. Would the adult day program have to end 2 weeks earlier or start at another site 2 weeks earlier because it's more than whatever time allotted? That's what I'm really trying to understand.
Our adult ed graduation is June 1st.
Okay.
So we would essentially have the month of June, And then July 5th, our summer programming starts. So we have a block of time to get to where we're going to go.
Oh, that's perfect. And where's the graduation going to be?
Central High School,
That's good to know. And at what time?
6 o'clock.
Get an email?
We sent, everyone should have received a letter. We sent letter. Yeah.
That's me. And then I think I asked this already. I know the building's old, but how old is the building?
Oh, I have no idea. It's old.
Okay.
Like my true opinion is if it was a traditional elementary school, you know, we wouldn't be using it. So I feel like our adults, you know, we should get a good spot too.
Thank you.
Mr. Traber.
Go back for a second. You asked them to bargain or to renegotiate the lease a year and a half ago almost. What prompted that? You said you had a 10-year lease that was rolling over.
But I knew it was expiring, you know, this June. Yeah, but the lease allowed for 3-year renewals. So the last renewal was this last year.
You didn't say 3-year over, so.
Yeah, so it was 7 years. We had 3 rollovers. This was our last rollover. So I wanted to avoid this, what we're in right now, but it didn't happen.
If I understand correctly what you said earlier, the $10,000 per month repair is what they want to seek in a new lease. So that would be like an insurance deductible. We would pay the first $10,000 for any repairs.
Yeah, it wouldn't be per month. It would be per repair. And it was, first it was, we made all the repairs and that was the old lease. So then they wanted $10,000 per repair we would pay. Anything over that, they would pick it up as a capital expense. And that's kind of where we never, you know, no one ever really took ownership of who's going to make these repairs.
Okay, and then, well, I guess I want to echo what others have said. You're in a position where I agree you've been negotiating. Now you're trying to figure out how to let people know where you're going. And it sounds like from what you just answered to Ms. Baptiste Perez, that between June 1st and July 1st, you're going to have time to sit down with people. But I would suggest that you meet with them before the July 1st graduation, June 1st graduation, because they're in the building. It's more convenient. Otherwise, they're going to have to come down for a special. So before the end of this period, June 1st, or this, I don't know, when does your class schedule end?
The week before.
So before
last week of May.
You want to sit down and give them an update, I would think, as to where you're at. That's it.
And I guess I'll give my comments. Just from hearing everything, I definitely agree with the board. I also feel that if the building is not in a place where we're spending all of this money, I definitely think it's time for, potentially a new place for them to be able to go. I know this can be hard depending on where that location may be, because if you have a larger audience that attends based off of where the location currently is, it may, discourage some of those that are going to be attending. But I think with time and preparation, and once you locate a building, give them enough time, I think it could be workable. But I am beyond mind blown with how much we're paying just to repair a building, how much of that money could be going towards, either expanding the classroom or expanding resources within the classroom. That's absurd. So that's just my thoughts on that. So good luck. We hope that we continue to get updates on where this process is. We'll continue to work with Ms. Parent to make sure we continue to keep it at the forefront so we know how to support you. And also too, so that the parents and community feel supported as well. But please keep us posted on where this is going to be. And I look forward to hearing more about it in finance as well. All right. Thank you, Mr. Dent. Oh, hand raised, Mr. Benahan. Sorry. One more.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Denton, if they're gonna find a location, are they gonna have same way when about the childcare, take care of the kids. I know they have it in the front.
I don't know if I can guarantee that. There is a YMCA childcare across from our current location. I'm not sure if we'll be able to find a spot with a childcare center next door, but obviously it would be a benefit.
Yo le pregunté,
And down the road, we do have the option that we could possibly obtain some additional funding and we could start a childcare our own.
pregunté asunto de los padres que tienen sus hijos, ¿me entiendes? Ya que están en este descuido de niños, me dice que no está seguro en la localización que vaya a conseguir si va a haber un sitio que puedan cuidar a los niños. Transportation, if they're traveling, to different places, the parents are going to have a transportation?
Yes, we provide bus passes to whoever, needs one.
Que le pregunté de transportación, dice que sí, que los padres van a tener pases que le dan para que puedan coger la guagua.
Just
Después, hablamos después.
So,
All right, that's
you
it.
good?
No more. That's it. Thank you.
Everyone that's here, Mr. Denton will be here to answer any questions and look forward to some type of meeting or informational about this particular process. Oh, hands are back up. Okay.
One more.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Cashmere.
Brown, thank you. Just very quickly, can we have him come back again? I mean, like.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, follow up. Yeah.
Okay, how often can we have him come back to give us an update?
As often as needed is, I don't think it's a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Traber.
Mr. Dunn. You said $130,000 a year for the lease, 100,000 plus for utilities, and another 100,000 to 200,000 for security and services?
Well, probably closer to the, for security, and we have a full-time security guard and a full-time custodian. Between their salaries and their benefits, it's above 100,000.
That's like $450,000 a year,
Yes,
plus whatever repairs we have to make.
yes.
Good time to move.
Okay, Mr. Jam, you go right ahead.
Question, I know you were looking for a modern location. Have you seen any modern location that fits the bill in your opinion that you're looking at?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Again, he'll be here after. Feel free to ask questions and we'll bring you back for continuous reports until we know where we stand. Thank you.
Thank you.
There is no old business to be transacted. We're going to move right into our new business items. The first item is discussion and possible approval of healthy food certification for school year 2023-2024. Mr. Steele is online, and I believe this has to be a vote. So go ahead, Mr. Steele.
Good evening, Keoma Steele, Director of Food and Nutrition Services. This is a required annual vote by state statute. The district must meet Connecticut nutrition standards for our a la carte sales in high schools, as well as the exemptions for sale of food at sporting events and fundraising events.
Thank you. And I have language that needs to be read into the meeting minutes. So what I'll do is, would someone like to make a motion and then I can read the language into the meeting minutes? Board members. Huh?
Make the motion yourself.
All right, so I motion for the approval of the health and food certification for school year 2023-2024. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll give it to Ms. Baptiste Perez, second by Ms. Baptiste Perez. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries. I'm going to read the language. Required for the vote participation in healthy food option pursuant to CGS Section 1021 to 21.5. F, the Board of Education, City of Bridgeport certifies that all food items offered for sale to students in the schools under its jurisdiction and not exempt from Connecticut nutrition standards, published by the Connecticut State Department of Education, will comply with the Connecticut nutrition standards during the period of July 1, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. This certification shall include all foods offered for sale to students separately from reimbursable meals at all times and from all sources, including but not limited to school stores, vending machines, school cafeterias, culinary programs, and any fundraising activities on school premises sponsored by the school or non-school organizations and groups. So that was just the vote that we took. Here's the second one. The second one, someone needs to make a motion. Yes, please read it. Well, make the motion. We're gonna vote on it first and then we can read the language. Use your mic.
I move vote number 2 on the required motion for combined food and beverage exemptions.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Benahan. Are there any questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, I'll read the language. The Board of Education of the City of Bridgeport will allow the sale to students of food items that do not meet the Connecticut nutrition standards and beverages not listed in Section 10-21Q of the Connecticut General Statutes, provided that the following conditions are met. The sale is connected with an event occurring after the end of the regular school day or on the weekend. The sale is at the location of the event. And 3, the food and beverage items are not sold from a vending machine or school store. An event is an occurrence that involves more than just a regular school practice, meeting, or extracurricular activity. For example, soccer games, school plays, interscholastic debates are events, but soccer practices, play rehearsals, debate team meetings are not. The regular school day is the period from midnight before 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. Location means where the event is being held and must be at the same place as the food and beverage sales. So that is the full language that had to be read into the meeting minutes. All right, we're gonna move to B, discussion and possible approval of RFP for DEI training. This came out of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So Mr. Sokolovic, this is your item if you want to explain or, oh, sorry, Mr. Pyrus is online. Mr. Pyrus.
I'm here. Good evening,
Hi.
everyone.
Good evening, sir.
So this item came out of the Diversity and Equity Capacity Inclusion Committee. This is requesting your approval to issue an RFP to solicit for the services of consultant to provide capacity building services would encompass various professional development, consulting, and related reporting services conducted on-site and or virtually as designated by the Board of Education. So we need your approval to go forth and post it.
Thank you. I'll open up the floor for any comments or concerns concerning this item. All right, hearing none. Oh, Ms. Baptiste Perez.
I'll be honest, Mr. Skolowik, can you debrief a board member that did not watch the DEI meeting or read the minutes as to the necessity as to why this is available
Sure.
to the public in the district?
Sure, we're currently under contract with another provider. This provider was never went out to bid, so it's time to go out to bid. The only interesting language I should note would probably be that the provider must give an update at a public meeting, which is subject to recording, which was one of the sticking points under the last contract. They took issue with having their work product recorded, but as we're a public entity responsible to the voters, thought it'd be prudent to enter into the RFP language to ensure that their presentations would be public and be able to be recorded. And it's basically mostly the same services as provided by the prior provider, a few additions for what's it, Title IX?
Yeah.
Thank you. Title IX.
Thank you.
All right, we've heard the brief overview. At this moment, I will open up the floor for someone to make a motion.
Motion to approve the issuance of an RFP for DEI training.
Moved by Mr. Sokolovich. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Traber. Any more discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Pires.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Good evening. The last item is discussion and first read replacing in its entirety policy 9171 remote board member participation in person committees, in person and in committee meetings. This comes out of Mr. Sokolovich's committee as well for governance. Please take the floor.
Yes, I'm going to ask for some assistance from my fellow board members because I do believe we really should read this all into the record. So if somebody would be able to take up.
Point of personal privilege. Can you make it available on the screen for our audience watching from home so they can see it and read along?
IT, please.
So we could do it like we did in school. Everybody take a paragraph.
Yeah, that would.
Till we're finished.
Yeah, because this one's important. We've been doing kind of a little bit.
It's pretty long.
You don't have a paper.
Oh, is there extras?
There should be more.
Arlene has them. You didn't get one? Oh, you did get one. So who didn't get one? Oh, never mind. Okay.
Does everybody have paper copies?
Okay. All right, it's up. Our first volunteer is Mr. Traber.
Let's start with.
Yeah, he has it.
Can we go to A, please?
Feedback. Electronic Board of Ed meetings, parentheses, background information for policy review committee, page 1.
Start.
Can we back up, Mr. Traber? I apologize. 9. Oh wait, did I? Policies. Oh yeah, we could skip the background information, I believe, because it's just the accents, just saying why we need a new one. And if we start with 93.21.2, which will be the actual policy.
I didn't hear you.
I could give the background and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably, and then go
go
straight
ahead.
into the.
So Mr. Traber should be at the last page or which page should he start at?
Well, she's gonna give the background, which is the.
Okay.
I think it's all background, this is the policy.
Good evening. As you know, I work with Mr. Sokolovic and Mr. Traber and Ms. Perrin on the governance committee. And so we've been looking at our bylaws and policies. And so in 2021, under the Connecticut Freedom of Information Act, public agencies, including boards of education, must make their meetings other than executive sessions open to the public. That became law in 2021. Last year, the Connecticut legislature passed a law allowing public agencies until April 30, 2022 to hold public meetings that are accessible to the public through electronic equipment or through electronic equipment in conjunction with an in-person meeting, like a hybrid meeting. Public Act 22.3 removes the April 30, 2022 sunset date and allows public agencies to continue to hold remote and hybrid meetings as long as they comply with the posting requirements of the Freedom of Information Act. So as board members know, your current policy 9171 remote meetings put all sorts of restrictions on committee meeting attendance for board members, how many times could they participate remotely. And so what we've learned through governance is that we no longer need that policy and all of those restrictions because the law, Public Act 22.3, allows remote meetings to take place. And so the document that's up on the screen is policy guidance from CABE. And what they suggest is about 3 pages into the document from CABE, they bring you back to a policy that this board already has. They bring you to the policy notice, time, place, and notification of meetings. And so what they suggest is that you update your time, place, and notification of meetings by adding the language that says, in accordance with applicable law, the board conducts a regular meeting by means of electronic equipment. So that's really what needs to happen, is following the 22-3 law, updating your time, place, and notice of meeting policy, which is your bylaw 9140. And so all of this information helps the board to understand what was in place for remote meetings, what's currently in place for time, place, and notification of meetings. You can see it here. They've put it up on the screen. That's CABE's guidance. That's CABE's policy guidance, which Mr. Sokolovic, through his role as policy chair, is suggesting that the board adopt, so that we no longer have policy 9171, that we update time, place, and notification of meetings to include this language, so that we no longer have these restrictions.
Thank you so much.
Before you
Go ahead.
Let me just give one more brief bit of why it needs to be changed as well. The new law and the statute requires us to give any board member remote access upon their request, with no restrictions being placed. That's the biggest problem of the thing. And we'll also, before we get into it, we got as part of our policy, we had the board chair and committee chairs having to be in person if it's a hybrid meeting. And we're in that through legal, and that's still acceptable if we want to include that, because it still allows everybody the same chance to attend. Oh, nope, sorry.
So that brought clarity. So at this moment, we'll start to our reader, Mr.
We had a question.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Traber.
Do we not have some policy that basically says, I mean, it's fairly common in contracts when I negotiated, that says anything that we have in this policy that's not in compliance with the law is subject to being in compliance with the law? Do we have anything like that in our policies?
We don't have anything written, but we could just ignore the current policy, because we cannot do anything in violation of the law, obviously. But we have been, I think, inadvertently in violation of the law, and regardless if we could or not, the entire policy needs to be changed to come into compliance either way.
Our policy is not in compliance with the law, not what we've done. And what I'm saying is that greater legal minds than mine, in decades of negotiating contracts, negotiated always a section of the contract that basically said, look, if anything in this contract violates the law counts, not what this contract says. So I just wonder if it's not worth it at some point, and that may be a matter then to refer to governance, that we deal with in governance as a new possible item in the bylaws.
I think we
just cover ourselves there.
Right. I think it could be added, but it would be more beneficial to actually have our bylaws in compliance with the law.
I'm not suggesting otherwise. That was never the intent.
I mean,
The
change
intent
anyway.
of that kind of boilerplate language was simply to make it clear to anybody that if there was a conflict, the law applied, not
Right, no doubt,
not
no
the
doubt.
document.
Okay,
So
I got you.
Correct.
That would cover us.
All right.
So where
do you want him to start reading?
I think we should start with just what's going to be included in the policy, which would be 9321.2A.
Versus K.
the definitions,
Correct. And then
starting with the definition.
This one, Sam.
Yep.
That's the first page. So you want to go to 9321.2.
That's it.
Yep, there you go. Go ahead.
Bylaws of the board. Time, place, and notification of meetings. Electronic Board of Ed meetings. Definitions. Meeting is defined as a hearing or other proceeding of the board, any convening or assembly of a quorum of the board, and any communication by or to a quorum of the board, whether in person or by means of electronic equipment, to discuss or act upon a matter over which the public agency has supervision, control, jurisdiction, or advisory power. Communications between and among a quorum of members convening on electronically linked personal computers or by telephone conference call are subject to the Freedom of Information Act. This definition includes hybrid, remote, and in-person meetings. Public notice. Each board member and each person who has duly requested such notification shall be notified no later than 24 hours in advance of the meeting of the date, time, location, and the agenda of any regular or special meeting. The 24-hour notice shall also be posted in the board office, delivered to newspapers designated by the board, and filed with the town clerk, except that such notice is not required where the time, date, and location of the meeting has been published in the annual list of meetings approved by the board and filed with the town clerk not later than January 31st of each year in accordance with the law. The meeting agenda must be filed at least 24 hours before the meeting convenes. Parentheses, in an emergency meeting, the board may proceed to conduct business if and to the extent required by the emergency. End parentheses. The exceptions shall also be adhered to in the event of a board meeting held through electronic means as described in this bylaw. When hybrid in-person meetings are held, the meeting notice should suggest that the public participate by remote means in order to avoid a situation where demand for space at the meeting by the public exceeds the in-person capacity limit.
Yep, you want to read voting? Put your mic on.
Voting. All board actions requiring a vote may be conducted by voice, show of hands, or roll call, provided that the vote of each member is recorded in the minutes of the meeting. Proxy voting shall not be permitted. Voice voting must occur in the event of a BOE meeting held through electronic means as described in this bylaw. Votes will be verbalized into the record by the board secretary. Abstentions shall not be counted as votes, but shall be recorded. I'll just read the last one. Internet chat discussions. In the event of a board meeting held through electronic means as described in this bylaw, under no circumstances are members of the board to have private chats while engaged in the public session of the meeting. All comments, inquiries, and votes must occur in the public forum for all to hear. All board members are expected to comply with the guidance of this bylaw.
Thank you. Now we're on 9321. B, 2B, Mr. Sokovic.
Heading is bylaws of the board, time, place, and notification of meetings. Electronic board of Education meetings continued. Policy statement. The Board of Education may hold a public meeting that is accessible to the public by means of electronic equipment or by means of electronic equipment in conjunction with an in-person meeting. In accordance with Connecticut Freedom of Information Act, the following provisions will be implemented so that a remote or hybrid meeting can occur. 1. Board of Education members shall make every attempt to participate through a technology portal where they can be viewable or at a minimum heard for each other and members of the public. The Board of Education will accomplish this through the use of an electronic video conferencing program such as, but not limited to, Zoom, GoToMeeting, WebEx, Onboard, where members of the public can call and or submit comments or questions. 2. Electronically, thank you. I didn't even hear myself say it. 2. Notice of the board meetings, virtual or in-person location, when a hybrid approach is utilized, shall be published through the traditional means and outlet, as well as being noticed on the district website and in the Board of Education office no less than 48 hours in advance. The district shall post the agenda for 3. I apologize. The district shall post the agenda for the meeting no later than 24 hours in advance for review and reference board members of the public. The agenda will also be posted on a district website. Such notice and agenda shall include instructions for the public to attend and provide comment or otherwise participate in the meeting by means of electronic equipment or in person.
Okay, Mr. Traber, 4.
Subsection 4, when the board conducts a meeting other than an executive session or special meeting solely by means of electronic equipment, it shall, 1, provide any member of the public, A, upon a written request submitted not less than 24 hours prior to such meeting, with a physical location and any electronic equipment necessary to attend such meeting in real time, and B, the same opportunities to provide comment or testimony and otherwise participate in such meeting that such member of the public would be accorded if such meeting were held in person. 2, ensure that such meeting is recorded or transcribed, excluding any portion of the meeting that is an executive session, and such transcription or recording is posted on the board's internet website and made available to the public to view, listen to, and copy in the board's office or regular place of business not later than 7 days after the meeting and for not less than 45 days thereafter. And 3, if a quorum of the members of the board attend a meeting by means of electronic equipment from the same physical location, permit members of the board of the public to attend such meetings in such a physical location.
Right, the next one is 9321.2C. Oh, okay. I'll read it. The bylaws of the board, time, place, and notification of meetings, electronic Board of Education meetings, policy continue. 5, the board, when conducting hybrid meetings, will make provisions to allow at least some members of the public and press to attend in the same location as the board members conducting the meeting in a manner consistent with any public health guidance. The number of the public allowed to attend the in-person or hybrid meetings will be limited to capacity by local health officials. Did I skip a line?
No, you
I sure did. Will be limited to capacity limits put in place consistent with public health and social distance guidance determined by local health officials. 6, if the board conducts a special meeting, it shall include the notice of such meeting, whether the meeting will be conducted solely or in part by means of electronic equipment, and not less than 24 hours prior to such meeting, shall post such notice and an agenda of the meeting. If such special meeting is to be conducted by means of electronic equipment, sorry, here I go losing my space. Such notice and agenda shall include instructions for the public by means of electronic equipment or in person to attend and provide comment on or otherwise participate in the meeting. 7, any vote taken at a meeting during which any member participates by means of electronic equipment shall be taken by roll call unless the vote is unanimous. The minutes of the meeting shall record a list of members that attended such meeting in person and a list of members that attended such meeting by means of electronic equipment. 8, any member of the board or the public who participates orally in a meeting of the board conducted by means of electronic equipment shall make a good faith effort to state such member's name and title, if applicable, at the onset of each occasion that such member participates orally. 8, executive session will be held. 9. Executive session will be held when necessary and for the statutory allowed reasons. And second, video conference meeting open only to Board of Education members and those individuals determined by the board to be necessary to participate in such executive session. Anybody want to do 10?
Number 10, pursuant to PA 22-3, a board member shall not be denied the opportunity to participate and vote in any meeting or proceeding using remote technology if such a member is requested to do so. When public health conditions improve, the board may initiate a return to in-person meetings or in the alternative hybrid in-person meetings in which board members may either attend in person or participate remotely. In hybrid meetings, members of the public and the press will be allowed to attend up to the capacity limits in place to comply with social distancing guidance and local public health department determination. Options and instructions on how to access Board of Education virtual meetings will be posted on the district's website. A recording of board meetings shall be made available within 7 days of the board's website and/or dash.
And I believe the rest is just statute references to statutes. I don't believe we need to read those out loud unless somebody really wants to. And appendices.
Microphone.
And appendices. The just suggest how to run the meetings. I don't think that needs to be included in the bylaws. But one more thing we got to discuss is whether we want to include the portion of the bylaws in here. If so, we need to make an amendment to add, I guess at the end, like.
Chairs in person.
Okay, how about we handle it this way so we know if we want to go that way at first. I make a motion to, thank you. I make a motion to amend policy, proposed policy 9321-2C by replacing 9321.2D and moving it backwards to E and shifting anything else we want to include. To read, the chairman of the board or the chair of a committee may participate remotely in an in-person meeting, but when doing so, may not function as the chair for an in-person meeting he or she is participating in remotely. For the chairman of the board or the chair of a committee to participate remotely, she must designate another member who will be physically present in the meeting room to act as the chair of the meeting.
Any discussion?
I second the motion,
Okay,
and then I have a question.
okay. It's been seconded. Go ahead, Mr. Traper.
Okay, so where are we putting this?
I would suggest including a new letter. And then
Or
shifting,
number?
or if we want to stick it, if somebody else could figure out a good place to stick it to keep with the flow, but I don't.
Well, the
really
policy
see-
statement is numbered 1 through 10. This be one of the policies that fits in there?
So maybe we add it to number 11? Maybe.
Yeah,
No, make it
Yeah.
11. Yes.
Correct.
You're adding a number 11.
Right.
So this motion, my motion would be modified to say, I make a motion that we introduce this language as a new subsection 11 to the policy statement.
And I'll second that amendment.
Okay, let's vote on the amendment.
The amended amendment.
The amended amendment. Are there any questions before we do that?
What is it?
Instead of adding.
First vote is strictly calling it number 11 and putting it in that place.
Correct.
Oh, but the agenda item says discussion and first read, so.
Right, and then have it reflected as the first read.
Okay.
We're not approving it today, we're just getting the first read through, and I hope nobody asks for a second read. So the amended amendment needs
Yeah,
to be.
it needs to be voted on. So she asked a question. Yeah.
What's the amendment to the amendment?
Instead of incorporating the language about the chairperson.
Okay, as a
into E, it
subsection
goes to
11.
It goes to 11 instead of a whole new letter.
Okay.
All right, you have a question? You're looking, okay. All right, so there's no further questions. It's been properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries. Now let's vote on.
Now we're on the amendment as amended, and if we wish to incorporate it, we've got to approve it to be incorporated into the policy, whether we want it or not.
The language.
Yes.
Yeah, I personally think it'd be cleaner to have the chair or person here, because I see potential problems with the chair of a committee or the chair of the board being in person, for the simple facts that it's hard to see if you're up on the screen, hard to see if I want to speak, or if Mr. Benahan here acts up and we get into a big argument, there's no gavel to be knocked down, so it makes it a little harder to control a meeting via Teams, so when everybody else is in person. So I would suggest including that into the policy. Sorry, Albert.
All right, so anyone else would like to share their thoughts on the chair or the committee chair being in person versus virtual? Go ahead. Ms. Cashmere, sorry.
That's okay. I just want to make sure that I understand this. So, for example, if the chair wanted to join a board meeting via video chat, she wouldn't be able to
run the meeting,
share the meeting. Whoever she would.
My vice chair.
Yes, you would basically like have somebody or another board member chair the meeting. just because of the fact that you're on video and not
Yes.
here in person.
Correct.
I just want to make sure to understand
Yep.
that, nothing else.
Correct.
Thank you.
And that's the same thing for committee as well.
Thank you.
Yes,
I have a
Ms.
comment.
Baptiste. first.
I think for the committee level, I'm split because when we have poor committee level attendance from committee members, I've been in a situation where it's just me, IT, and we're here in person, and then committee members are online, or one committee member is online. And it kind of defeats the person of, well, why did I show up in person if no one else is going to be here? Why did it could have been a remote meeting. That's just a general comment, in my opinion. It's just from my experience on the board. I think for our regular meetings, it's fine. It makes sense, given that regular meetings, we're more likely to have actual public comment and the public show up, and depending on how long we're in the room, stay. On the committee level, that makes I'm 50-50. I suppose I mean, as long as we have committee members showing up and it's not just a use of our facilities going to waste if it's just one person in the room chairing a committee. But I feel like that deals with other issues outside of the purview of this particular item.
Okay, so I'll come back, Mrs. Okolovic.
Just to allay that concern, Ms. Baptiste Perez. The reason they did this is because there's a lot of people not making quorum, so that's why they keep it in place. You as a chair of the two committees and me as a chair of my few committees and any other chair has the option to call a totally remote meeting. And that's still codified in there. So if there's a problem, like for instance, I really feel weird when I'm sitting in this room by myself and it seems like a waste. So if I got some sort of idea people won't be available, they'll say I'll be out of town that week or something like that. And if it's only myself, I think I could just shift to remote so we don't have to waste the building in this time.
I was going to agree with that because I was like, we've done it in the past just to prevent if we're not going to be, the entire committee is not going to be present, then remote just seems the better option.
No, may I comment?
Yes.
I know we normally go around. It's just, I've heard this from other people in the district and even students, is that we have to go to school. There's a notion of COVID being over and our students are showing up in person. So why, as a board member, we're not showing up in person? And that's just a comment that I've heard from, like I said, a vast number of constituents from the level of student to adult. As a working individual, sometimes you're going to be late in traffic. You're going to log in remotely. But I do hear their concern. And as a working individual, I'm like, well, if I'm running late and I can log in and that's going to give us quorum for a meeting, there's another. So it's valid on both points. Like I said, I'm in between.
Thank you. Mr. Benahan.
So, Madam Chair, if they were talking, if you be online and we have the meeting, so the Vice President, Ms. Bates, will take care of the meeting. So it doesn't mean if something we have to vote, you cannot vote because you're online.
No, all of the chair's duties will remain the same except chairing the meeting. So being a committee member, part of the board, I will still vote, I will still ask questions, I
Just
will still
because you cannot
engage.
run the meeting.
But I just won't run the meeting because
You're not in person.
I'm not in person.
So it's almost the same thing for the committee or?
Same thing for the
Same thing. The chair is just the only person that whoever's
If
in,
I'm right now, I'm the student family, need the chair.
if
And
you're
let's say
not
I cannot
there,
make it, so
Ms.
one of my, I catch on Ms. Joe,
Yep.
have to run the meeting.
run the meeting.
Okay, I understand that. All right, thank you.
Mr. Traber, and I'm sorry, I meant to go back to you.
That's all right, that's all right. We're simply codifying here what you've been doing, right?
Pretty much.
That's what this is. I mean, the one time I saw it was, I think, my first meeting where you chaired and you participated. And that makes sense. I do understand your point. It is one of, I mean, as somebody who decided I agreed with those students, and retired. I didn't want to go into school. I wanted to go into a safer place. But one of the things I'm sort of seeing, I see it with my wife's work, I assume y'all are seeing it in other work situations, is the ability to actually do things remote is a new horizon for us. And so to offer that flexibility, especially with volunteer people, the board members don't get paid. They're not, they're volunteering to do this, to have that flexibility to deal with, as you said, getting stuck in traffic or other conflicts and still be able to participate really is God bless you, really is a unique new way of handling that situation. So I see it as a good idea to keep it the way it is. But I do sort of wonder if you're sitting here alone, you're with the staff people, right? The staff people have to be able to coordinate the meeting somewhere. If you weren't meeting here, where would the staff people coordinate the meeting from? They can do it all online from wherever they are? Okay. Yeah, I assumed it has. I just hadn't seen it in my experience.
Okay. Mr. Sokolovic?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Ms. Baptiste Perez said, that we should be all in person. And we did open the schools. And I was one of the people saying, changing the last policy to make those restrictions, because we should be in person facing our constituents, especially coming up when we may start making these budget cuts. How easy would it be for us to sit behind a screen and tell people they can't have their jobs no more, tell people that their schools are going to close, and not face the hundreds of people who want to speak to us and in person? I mean, it's so easy to disassociate yourself on a computer and on a screen. I don't have to like it, but unfortunately, this is the policy we got and the law we got to abide by. If it wasn't for the law, I would never suggest even changing this policy, but we got to live with it and do our best with it.
All right. Any other comments or questions? All right. The last place we were at the now we're ready to vote.
We move on to the main motion, which is we're really not approving it. So the motion is to accept the first read of policy 9321 and all its subsections as amended.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Benahan. Are there any other questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
I got to hear y'all. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none. First read is approved.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? I'm here. Hearing none. Motion carries. Good night, everybody.
Is there anybody who wants to